Thank you, Christopher. And now in other news. Bank of Jamaica BOJ Governor Richard Biles says the country's net international reserves (NRI) remains healthy, amounting to US $3.3 billion as at the end of April. Speaking at the BOJ's digital quarterly media briefing on May 21, Mr. Biles noted that additionally since March 2020, the bank has purchased US $1.9 billion locally via market surrenders, which pay for government debt servicing and some energy imports. Consequent to these and other developments, the governor said the BOJ is projecting that over the next 2 years, the current account deficit of the balance of payments will remain at sustainable levels of about 3 to 5% of gross domestic product (GDP). Mr. Biles added that this is supported by expectations for a partial recovery in tourism arrivals, driven in large part by successful phased COVID-19 vaccination programs in key source markets, and our assumption of careful control of community spread in Jamaica. The governor said the bank also continues to intervene in the local foreign exchange market when temporary shortfalls have been identified. He indicated that total BOJ foreign exchange intervention and trading tool (BFIXIT) flash sale operations to date since the onset of the COVID-19 crisis in March 2020 has amounted to US $411 million. Mr. Biles noted that despite the economic uncertainty caused by the pandemic, confidence in Jamaica's market-driven foreign exchange system is such that flows remain strong, and assured that any business or individual requiring foreign currency can access it. The governor reported that for the calendar year to the end of April 2021, daily purchases of US dollars by authorized dealers and cambios from end users averaged US $35 million. This, Mr. Biles pointed out, was higher than the average of US $28.9 million recorded over the same period last year. And finally, in the news tonight, Jamaica's Economic Program Oversight Committee, EPOC Chairman Keith Duncan, says that with the government of Jamaica's projection of 5.2% growth and other positive indicators for 2021-2022, EPOC is cautiously optimistic on the recovery of the Jamaican economy. During an EPOC meeting to review the macro-fiscal program of the government of Jamaica and the monetary performance of the Bank of Jamaica for the fiscal year 2020-2021, as well as to highlight key projections for fiscal year 2021-2022, Mr. Duncan explained that they are anticipating a significant recovery in tax revenue.
What we're seeing is that Government of Jamaica tax revenues are projected to jump 13% in the current fiscal year, that's 2021-22, from $505.7 billion in 2020-21 to $572.5 billion. Therefore, we are anticipating recovery in tax revenues, significant recoveries in tax revenues. Remittances have been doing very well for Jamaica, and they're actually up 34% over year. Moving from in February 2021, we had net remittance inflows of $212 million. And when you compare against February 2020, $162.8 million for February 2020. Net international reserves, therefore, have remained very robust at $3.3 billion. When we at the outset of this pandemic, no one thought that our net international reserves would be at these levels, and we were not targeted to be at these levels. And for us to be at 3.3 billion is really robust and does give us some comfort. Debt to GDP is projected, which closes the 2021 fiscal year at 110%, is projected to fall to 100.7% in 2021-22.
He further added that as of March of this year, the government has met all the quantitative performance targets except for the tax revenue target.
As at end March 2021, the government of Jamaica has met met the available quantitative performance targets for the Government of Jamaica Economic Reform Program, met all targets for the quantitative targets, except with the exception of tax revenues, which were marginally behind budget. On the fiscal side, Jamaica achieved all the fiscal targets except revenues and grants came in marginally short of budget. So we had actually projected a fiscal deficit of 78.1 billion. In other words, expenditures to outpace revenues and grants by 78 billion, but we actually did better. And why did we do better? Was that the recurrent and capital spending closed lower than we budgeted for the year, because we know tax revenues and grants were marginally behind budget. So we know tax revenues are on a positive trajectory.
Meanwhile, Mr. Duncan also pointed out that the Jamaican dollar has a depreciation of $3.67 for the quarter up to May 20 rather.
As at May 2020-21, the Jamaican dollar vis-a-vis the US was 150.25 to US $1. Depreciation of 2.5% for the quarter. That follows a depreciation of 2.8% for the March 2021 quarter. So we have seen some movement in the exchange rate, but that is with a flexible exchange rate policy. This is what we do expect to see, and we have been seeing the Jamaican dollar vis-a-vis the US moving in both directions, consistent with the Government of Jamaica and the Bank of Jamaica policy of a flexible exchange rate regime.
And stay tuned to catch the full presentation following Prime Minister Andrew Holness's and Opposition Leader Mark Golding's Labor Day messages immediately after this newscast. And that's our news package for you tonight. Thank you for tuning into Mello TV Evening News at 8. I am Tamara McHale. Stay safe and pleasant viewing.